You are listening to the We Only Do One Take podcast. The only podcast in the world that is a complete shit show. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the We Only Do One Take podcast. It's the only podcast in the world that is a complete shit show. I am your host, Turch, and with me is my co-host, the CEO of the podcast, Kieran. And with us today, very special guest, a guest I've been wanting to get on the show for a very long time. It's Matt Farley from Motern Media. Matt, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, and this is a tremendous honor. Thank you.
Oh, it's a tremendous honor for us. You better best believe that. I'll tell you what. Let me just. Matt is a man of many talents, but he's a fantastic musician. Recorded, and released 25,000 songs officially, and you're also a fantastic filmmaker and a fantastic performer. And I need to know all about that. I need to know more than just the stuff that's online. I need to know more about the myth, the man, the legend that is Matt. So, Matt, how about we just absolutely kick it off? Let's start it all the way at the beginning. You've been a musician for many, many years. Let's see how true your Wikipedia page is. When did you start playing music? When did you decide, yeah, music is something that I really want to take part in?
My parents heard me playing with like a toy keyboard when I was about 7 years old, and I was kind of figuring out melodies, and so they got me piano lessons shortly after that, and I ended up taking piano lessons for 5 years through grade school. We got a piano, and then after the piano lesson stopped, like the teacher was making me do a lot of classical stuff, which I like to some degree, but it was more exciting to play, Billy Joel or Beatles songs on the piano. So after I stopped taking lessons, I played more because I could play whatever I wanted, and that's kind of how it started.
Amazing. So Beatles and Billy Joel, sort of like those are things on the radio that you're like, I'm gravitating towards that more than anything else.
Yeah, and this was in the late 80s or early 90s, so it's not as if either one of those were like cool amongst my peer group, but that's what I was into.
Yeah. And what was, obviously you're drawn to that, I guess being a piano player, like I'm a guitar player, you sort of gravitate towards guitar orientated music. I'm assuming the same with the piano there. When did you start to add in the vocals? Like when did you decide I'm also going to sing, or those sort of happen simultaneously?
Yeah, well, I've never been accused of having a good voice, and frankly, people almost actively let me know that I, shouldn't sing when I was a teenager. But that didn't really stop me too much because, like, I also listened to Bob Dylan a lot, and I was like, yeah, people say Bob's got a bad voice, and he's done fine for himself. I'm not going to let that hold me back. And so, I started writing songs in high school, kind of dabbling, just a few things here and there. And then when I was in college, around age 18, I really started focusing on writing a lot.
And was that when you joined your first band? Like, was that the first time when in your college years? Was that the first band you sort of joined, or were there some high school-y sort of bands first up?
There were two guys in high school, Pete and Froggy, who I still collaborate with both of them, and we would record in Froggy's basement. And then in college, it was my friend Tom Scalzo, and he and I started writing songs together. And we just released an album a couple weeks ago, so we're still at it. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
So that's what amazing. I'm hearing,
so it's basically
is Turch, you need a basement to help me with my singing career. because Church and I are going to be singing. Well, I have to sing, and I'm not a good singer, and you're giving me hope here. So
It's
Great.
it's true.
Yeah. And that's where we belong anyway. We belong in the basement, you know?
Yeah.
It's so
we're all
sad.
the re-
It's so sad. Australia really doesn't have too many basement or dwelling places. We're very much an above ground people.
That's tough. That's
We'll,
real
we'll
tough.
move.
Well,
We'll move to Cooper Pedy Church, and I'll have my basement, and I can sing.
garages are good too if you have one of
Yeah,
those.
that's right. I've played in many garages in bands over time, and but yeah. So what is so? Let's go. So the writing process, obviously, being Bob Dylan, you Billy Joel, all that sort of stuff. Beatles, obviously, big inspiration to you. What's the writing process like early on, and has that changed? Obviously, that's obviously changed over time. But what has changed over time in that writing process?
Yeah. So, I slowly developed the system that I should never say no to any idea. Like
Yeah.
if I have an idea, I just have to go with it. And oftentimes it'll be a bad idea and I'll doubt myself while I'm doing it, but over time I realized you just have to follow through with it, finish the song, and then that'll free you up for the next idea, and maybe that idea will be better than the first one. And then you just keep on doing that until you've had a day when you've written and recorded a dozen songs. And then you go back and listen to them and it's like, oh, you know what? The first song was actually pretty good. It's better than I
Mm,
thought it was. It's like
mm,
it's not our job to determine if it's good or not. It's just our job to just do it, you know,
mm.
and sort it out later.
And when did so you started off in your first band? It was just regular sort of, I guess I'll say, non-comedic in nature music, or non, I guess, poop related or non name related or city related music. What made is that process you just described there of no idea is a bad idea? Was that the reason why you moved into doing these other style of songs
Yeah.
that?
Well, I mean, I was writing silly stuff from day one, absolute like, and like I was embarrassed by it though, you know,
Yeah.
and so and we
Oh,
try to.
please don't be embarrassed. Church is so
No.
excited. Oh no, he is, because I go to his house and he's like, "Hey, check out this like poop song," and then he like plays it to me, and he has the biggest giggle, and he's so excited. And I just think you're writing to the inner boy that we want to be.
Yeah, I'm not embarrassed anymore. This was back, you know, when I was 19 and I had
Yeah.
poetic aspirations, you know. And so I had poetic aspirations, and then I would write the dumbest, most ridiculous comedic song, and then I'd write what I thought was a good poetic song, and then I'd play them for people, and people only wanted to hear the weird, silly song. So it's like, all right, seems to be what people want, and so. But I mean, this is back in the late '90s. I didn't even
Mm,
release an album until '04, and frankly, there wasn't anywhere to release it independently
mm,
prior to prior to
yeah.
'04. You know, so like in '04, iTunes was a thing, and I learned that just anybody can release an album on iTunes. I was like, wait, like there's no one stopping me. This is crazy. So I had all these recordings from the previous like 5 or 6 years, and so I just started putting out albums under the band name Moe's Haven, which is mostly me and Tom Scalzo, who I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And so for a few years, we just kind of released our back catalog over the course of a few years while writing new stuff. And then it was, you know, around '07, I was looking, we'd released about, I don't know, 20 albums by then. And I was looking at the numbers. The numbers were not good. Like we would earn maybe $5 a month, you
Hmm.
know? But I looked at the earnings and I was like, oh, people paid for the Shut Up Your Monkey song.
Yeah.
And someone purchased the song about Hugh Grant, the actor. And then that's when I was like, ooh, people are going onto onto iTunes and typing in unusual words, and our songs are the only ones coming up for those.
Well, I've always really admired you in a way, because one of the things that I either you consciously know that you're doing it or subconsciously are the genius at it is that you are the master of search engine optimization. And I don't know if anyone's ever told you that. That's my, like, every time someone talks about you, say, why do you love him so much? One, all of his songs are goddamn hilarious. And he's the master of search engine optimization, whether he knows it or not. Is that something you've ever, like, obviously you noticed that early on with the iTunes
Yeah.
uploading of songs onto iTunes?
Yeah, I mean, I stumbled onto it, you know, because I
Mm,
just had all these songs, and then just the light bulb went up off in my head, and I was like, oh, I just need to think of a topic that other people haven't written about, but people might search on a music site, you know. And the
yeah.
thing is, it's like nobody I don't think anyone else would do this, you know, because
Mm,
you know, who's going to devote like 2 decades to churning out really weird and specific songs? But I was like, oh, this is great. All I like doing is recording songs, you know, by myself. So I mean, this is the best. You know, so basically, when I wasn't working my day job, I was just recording song after song after song. And the thing with the search engine optimization, it's like I don't know if it's going to work or not. So
mm.
I come up with an idea and I go with it, and plenty of them no one's listening to, but just by sheer chance. I mean, when you have so many thousands of songs, some of them are going to be searched and some of them will catch on.
I think that some of the poop songs have reached over 1 million listens, or like especially on Spotify, which is like probably the most newest of all the streaming sort of platforms. It's already hit over 1 million. So I think people are definitely. I think they're definitely finding you through those channels there and looking at your other. They're like my wife going, "This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life," or the guys
It-
like me going, this is
This
the
is the
king. This is
best.
he's mastered something here."
yeah, there's a lot of wives who don't understand why their husbands like me.
I think more than
Do you
anything
ever
else.
think that
Oh, yeah.
there are high school kids who, to annoy their teacher, are playing your songs?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm so proud. Yeah. You know what's good about that too is like if I get them young enough, they don't even know what a good singing voice is yet. They're so young and impressionable. And so there's a whole generation of kids who think my singing voice is like acceptable and normal. And so as they get older, I'm changing the tastes of humanity, and I think I'm only going to get bigger as more and more people just can't help because everyone's heard poop in my fingernails at this point,
yeah.
and they don't realize how bad my voice is. It's great.
I gotta say, I introduced my nephew, who's was 4 at the time, to
Mm.
his namesake song, and it's the Henry song. And I'm gonna say something that's probably controversial, but the Henry name song is the best name song you've ever done. It is like my son's name is Felix. My name is Anthony. This is Kieran. We've listened to them all. It's like, yeah, they're pretty good. The Henry song, I don't know why. It's just the absolute best. It's a simple chord progression of C minor to G to F or something like that. Nice and simple, but god damn it, it's so perfect. I don't know how you. And the first time I got him to listen to it, all he asked for from me was, "But can we listen to the Henry song again?" Now he sits there like this, Henry, like sitting there with his eyes closed, singing along to the. It's fantastic.
Is that Henry, just the Henry song or the Henry poop song?
No, no, just the Henry song, the Henry Poop song
Okay,
is
nice.
still to introduce him to slowly. He's
Oh,
just doing
good.
the name
Okay.
songs for now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And obviously, I can't wait till my son can realize that he's got his own song by Matt Farley online.
Yeah.
So you obviously got others involved. It's really roughly the same group of guys that you've been recording with the whole time, or do you get other people in, or is it a lot of yourself just recording in your own basement?
It's mostly just me by myself for all the novelty songs.
Yep.
But I call that every a couple times a year I try to put out, and I call it a no jokes album, you
Yeah.
know, where my aspirations to be a somewhat more credible and respectable artist, I'll put out an album like that, and usually that's when I'm collaborating with those other guys.
Yep.
What sometimes they'll come up for a weekend and we'll just record the basic tracks to a whole album, and then we'll spend a few weeks or months touching it up,
Lining it up.
remotely. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's good, and it's like it's a great way to keep in touch with friends, and just like I don't like to hang out with people very much. Like I like to engage in creative pursuits with people. So like some guys maybe get together and go fishing all weekend. Like that's just not my style. But getting together and recording an album, that's the dream. And I can't believe we're in our mid 40s now, and we're still doing the thing that we thought we when we were 20, we were like, wouldn't it be cool if we had time to get together and make albums? And like we're actually doing it.
It's it's sort of like, I guess this podcast for us is one of those things that we can, we get together, we sort of create some sort of art, or we get to interview cool people like yourself, or we'll talk about the world. It's a really magical thing, creating art. I'm trying to bring Kieran into the music world. We're trying to write music together, and he's got no music experience. I'm trying to bring him into this world. It's a really exciting.
I'll be singing. And I like what you've said, because it's just do it, move on, and let the market determine. And even if it's bad, there's another market that will love it.
That's right. I mean, there's I don't even think there's such thing as quality, frankly. Like, it's just like it's
you
whatever.
Are my hero.
Thank you. Yeah, whatever you hear all the time. I mean, there's a reason why artists like bribe radio stations to get their songs played, because if your song's on the radio, people hear it, and then if people hear it half a dozen times, they just start humming along with it. It's like it's been proven. The more you hear something, the more you like it. So the whole game is just getting into people's ears.
I completely agree with that. So just going back to the recording process, do you ever get like others involved in, not just like fans, or I know that you have fan competitions where you ask fans to record your songs, like cover versions of these songs. Is that still happening? I think it happened last year or the year before.
Yeah, I've been doing that on my podcast since like 2015, I think.
Yeah.
And every year I get a dozen, 15, 20 entries, and it's great. And I think it's good for people. People kind of need a push sometimes, like to get the guitar out of the case and to just do it. And a lot of people tell me like that was what got them to finish the album that they'd been working on for 5 years,
Good.
So it's like, get out there and do it. But otherwise, no, I don't really, I don't collect. It's hard. It's real hard to collaborate with someone, and you don't want to step on their toes. You don't want to insult them. They don't want to insult you. You don't want to push people too hard. And so I've got a few guys that I know I can work with quite well. And, we've known each other for decades at this point, and those are my guys. It's too late. It's too late for anyone else.
It's weird. It's funny you say that. Like, I've got a group of musicians, like drummer, bassist, guitarist, piano player, that you just go, you know what? I'm just going to work with you because I know how you work. It's amazing. It's that workflow that you really need sometimes.
Absolutely, and like it's a very sensitive thing too, because like if someone puts their effort into creating something, like you can crush them, by even accidentally crush them by making a suggestion or something. And so if you find people who know how to deal with each other, then just hang on to those people.
Now, look, you've been on Jimmy Fallon. I'm going to talk about that because I've got a question sort of related to all that. How did the Jimmy Fallon call up happen?
I was down in my basement recording music on a Tuesday, and my phone rings, and my phone number is very public. I sing it.
Yes.
It's in the lyrics of hundreds of songs of mine. So I get
Yeah.
calls all the time. But this one comes in, I answer it as usual, and someone claims to be a producer of the Jimmy Fallon Tonight Show, and I'm like, I don't know if this is true or not, but I'll play along, and then a week later, I was in New York City on my, I had stayed in a hotel the night before that they paid for, so I was like, I think this is really happening, but still in the back of my head, I'm like, is this a really elaborate prank?
Has
But
Ashton
when they
Kutcher to come back and
Yeah.
do the fake show? Yeah.
But once I actually got into the building, I was like, this is crazy. This is actually happening. And it was a really good experience. Everyone was so accommodating and nice and professional.
I'm sure that came with a lot of additional fans. Or what was the immediate, like, I guess what was the audience reaction to? I think you're saying, well, this used to be a Pizza Hut, I think was the song
Right. Yeah.
was performed. Yeah. What was the audience's reaction to it?
Yeah. I mean, in the room, I was so focused on just getting the song done, I didn't even pay any attention to if people were enjoying it or not. The best part for me was like after I played it, the house band, which is the Roots,
Yeah.
they started playing their own version of it, which was
Oh, that's
incredible
cool.
to hear, like a full band, playing used to be a Pizza Hut. And then I picked up some new fans, I think, from the appearance, but it's never been any kind of overnight success thing
Yeah.
for me. It's just like it's a
Slow
very,
growth.
very, very slow grow. Yeah. And what else was I going to say about that? The best part is I get to brag about it when I meet people.
It's so good. Like, I think, I always try to show people that
Not
footage.
only-
And I go, this guy's legit. It's so good.
Not only brag, but you also get to do like the trump card of like, well, have you been on the Jimmy Fallon show? Oh no, you haven't.
I know.
So shut the
I
fuck up.
know. I
Right, it's
they
a bit
gave
like
me
you see, in my father's eyes, you are successful. I'm not successful, right? I'm just a bum. And our mate, Traj, he plays in a band, and he was also a bum until I told my father, oh, he's opening for Kiss when they're in Melbourne. And then all of a sudden, he was a massive fan and told all his boomer friends.
Yeah.
And you are in
Yes.
that same position now. The honor and the prestige
absolutely.
you have in my father's
Right.
eyes.
And that's it. It's for people who are outside of the entertainment business. Like
Yeah.
they don't know how to gauge success other than like, okay, you've been on national TV, you must be a big deal, Whereas like even for me, like I'm more proud of an album that I've recorded or something like that. But it's good, it's good for people who aren't involved to, for my parents to have some kind of substantial thing to show their friends and be like, see, he turned out okay.
And so going on from that, you went to Jimmy Fallon, you got to perform this big stage. Obviously you've said that you've got this core group of people that you collaborate with, and but has it ever come, I guess, downstream as like an artist ever come to you and go, you know what, Matt, come and play on, like Weird Al called you up and said, let's do a parody song together. Has it been like a downstream sort of call to action from others?
No, nothing really coming to mind in that way. Yeah, I mean it's been very much just kind of staying focused, doing what I do, and things like I said, they just slowly increase. Who knows? Maybe I mean one thing that happened. America's Got Talent. You know that show?
Yeah. We've got equivalent here in Australia.
Okay, so they invited me to play there, and they wanted me to do a song about Heidi Klum, the model.
Yeah.
A fart song about Heidi Klum. So, which I did. So I go up on stage and I perform a song. The first verse is about how she's a wonderful supermodel, and then the next verse is about how, just like everyone else in the world, she farts,
Yeah.
And I started hearing those buzzers. 3 buzzers, but not the fourth. The fourth, Howie Mandel never pressed the buzzer, so I was able to finish the song. I thought it went great, but they cut me out of the show. I went all the way to Los Angeles for a couple days, and then my wife and I watched every episode all through the summer, waiting for my big moment. It never came. Oh,
Yeah.
well, I was quite disappointed.
I was gonna say, I think isn't Howie like a germaphobe as well? He doesn't like he always washes his hands. So for him to like the Heidi Klum poop song, I think for me, like you got to take that as an enormous win.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I thought it went great. But maybe maybe it's Heidi. She didn't want the world to be clued into the fact that she farts.
That's that potential. I think no woman wants wants the world to know that they're perfectly honest. But that's one of those exciting.
That's right.
But
You can go and write a fart song about the We Only Do One Take podcast.
That's right.
Okay,
Anytime in
good.
the world,
Yeah.
anytime. Look, you do play shows, you play concerts, you do, and then the big thing that I know you do is that once a year or maybe more than once a year, you do big 5.5+ hour concerts. You did one in Massachusetts, like I think last year, or potential.
Yeah.
It's 2024. I keep thinking of 2022, but you've done one more recently than not, like a 5.5 hour show. How do those come about?
Yeah. So I'm all about excess in general, as 25,000 songs, making tons of movies, et cetera, et cetera. And so around the time of the Tonight Show appearance, I felt like I was like, you know what? I have enough fans that we could at least sell 10, 15 tickets. And,
Yeah.
and I was like, that'll be enough. Then, we can have family and friends fill up the rest of the seats.
Yeah.
So I rented out a venue, and from day one, it was at least a 5-hour performance. So that was back in 2017. And so once a year since then, it's me and those 3 guys I've been playing music with forever. We've done one of these shows, 5.5 hours. And the most recent one was May of 2023. We had more than 100 people in a hotel conference room, and that was a crazy one because we premiered 2 movies. So the show started it went from 2 p.m. until 11 p.m. 2 movies followed by a 5.5 hour show. People were exhausted, but I mean, it's definitely memorable. And one person flew from Australia for a show a few years ago. So that was pretty cool.
I'm very jealous of that person because that it's like I said, if you could ever do an Australian tour, I would be at every show in every city. It would just be one of those fantastic things I don't have to drag here along to.
But
Great.
the thing like in Australia, there's only going to be like 3 of us here. That's just
that's right.
3.
Yeah,
That's enough. That's enough.
I've played for fewer. So the way I look at it is like a lot of independent musicians might like do a tour, like where they like an indie tour where they book a show for 2 weeks straight. They book a show in a different city, and I think they come out of that having lost a few $1,000s. Like look at least on the level that I'm at, and I'm like, all right, you know what? Instead of spending 2 weeks being exhausted driving all around, I'm just going to lose $2,000 all in one night and just do a really epic show and try to get people to come to me. And I do it at like places where I can just rent out the venue rather than like splitting the ticket sales with like a club or something, just because I would feel guilty. I would feel bad the whole time for the club. I would feel like I was letting them down or something. So I like having it be just this is my thing. And if it goes well, good for me. If it doesn't go well, I'm the only one who's bothered by it. And that's the way I look at it.
Yeah. Look, well, you very much touched on something I was going to bring up next, which is your films. You've been making films for 10 years, 15 years, give or take, almost in line with the same with your music making. What made you decide I want to make a want to make a film.
Yeah. Well, it's been the same thing as the music. I mean, in high school, I was making movies with my friends, and then in college, it was my friend Charlie Roxburgh that I met at college, and he was as into it as I was, and we were making short movies, within a few weeks of meeting, and then we just kept doing it. Before graduating, we had made a feature length movie, which was pretty cool, and then we graduated college, and we were like, oh, let's make another one. Like most people are at that point, they're like, well, I can't just be running around making a movie. I'm a grown adult. What am I doing? And we never had that moment. We just kept making them. And I mean, nobody was watching. I cannot, like, more people when we were making $5 a month from music, like that was much more successful than the movies were. That's
Yeah.
how few people were watching, but we just kept on making them.
Mm.
And the one thing I had in the back of my mind was like, if let's say we make a movie in 2012 and people like it, and if that's the case, we're going to be glad we made movies before then,
Mhm.
because for people to dig into, or maybe in the movie we make in 2007 will become popular in 2017. And likewise, we're going to be glad that we kept making movies in the
Mm.
meantime. So that's been the approach.
And where can look? Is it like you said? You sort of show them at your big shows, your 5 hour long. Do you put them up online anywhere, or people? Where can people purchase them?
Uh, there's a Blu-ray company called Gold Ninja Video, and we
Mm.
have several movies. You can order the Blu-ray, and it'll get shipped to you. And then I don't. Do you guys have Tubi in Australia? It's
Uh,
like
I,
a
I
free
think
Netflix.
so. Yeah,
Okay.
kinda. Yeah, something like
Maybe,
that.
It's a free Netflix with commercials. So we have several movies up there, and they're around. And the beauty of these movies are they're very homemade.
Yeah.
Where like we made one entire movie where my uncle was the lead character. It was a buddy cop movie where my uncle, who not only does he not have acting experience, he has no interest in making movies either. And that's the special kind of thing we're going for. Like, you've never seen a movie with a lead actor who doesn't even want to be in movies. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a rare thing. He just does it because he's nice, and his nephew asked him to do it. He's like, okay, sure, whatever. He does not care at all. If he gets it right or he gets it wrong, he doesn't care, and that just makes for such a unique viewing experience.
That's Which film is that called?
Slingshot Cops.
Slingshot Cops. That's Kieran. I think I need a viewing party for our friends for that one there.
Absolutely. Yeah. The other one.
I
The
don't know
other
how
one
we
that
can legally get Tubi from, but I will find out how.
It's on Vimeo also. You can
Awesome.
rent it or purchase it on Vimeo.
Will do. Kieran, what did you say? Sorry.
I I was saying the one, or it appears your most popular is Local Legends. So we've got to watch Slingshot Cops
Double feature.
and double feature. And do you recommend Local Legends, Matt?
Yeah, Local Legends is kind of like I said I do the no jokes albums.
Yeah.
This Local Legends is sort of like my no jokes movie, where it's not like, oh, isn't it funny to see all these non-actors acting? It's really like an autobiographical story where I play Matt Farley, and I more or less explain myself, my whole creative vision, and depict my life as a small time entertainment person. So there's lots of laughs in it, but it's very, very different tone. And I think podcasters tend to like the movie because they can relate, to the frustration of creating stuff and people not really being necessarily interested in what you're creating, and yet you still really want to do it, and dealing with criticism, and dealing with, like, how do you balance, like, a quote unquote normal life with your weird
Mm.
artistic desires.
Well, let's go on with that sort of theme there. You've I can't wait to watch the film, but You obviously you said your partner, your wife has been there for a while. You get your family involved in your media and your music and all that sort of stuff. What has been their reaction from the start of your career up until now? How have they taken on board what you do, and how do they explain what you do to the wider
Yeah.
community?
Right. Well, it's very hard to explain. It's like I need a good 2 hours. I need to sit someone down for 2 hours to really explain it to people.
It's that board with
Um,
all the pins on it and the string.
all the connections and
Yeah.
whatnot. Yeah. Uh, and then I decided to write poop songs,
Yeah.
Uh, and so, well, for me, I mean, my family was always fine. Like they knew. I mean, I was making movies in high school and recording songs all the time. They knew I was into it. And the for me, I think the trick was like after college, I got a job, a
Mm,
regular 40 hours per
Commiserations.
week, and I was able to take care of myself. The beauty of the job was I got all my hours done in 3 days.
mm,
So
Mm.
I'd work a lot for 3 days, and then I wouldn't work for the next 4 days, and so it was work. The job was working at a group home for teenagers who have been like taken out of their home for any number of reasons. So it was kind of hard work, and the pay was pretty low, but it was enough to live off. And so as far as my family was concerned, like, hey, he's taking care of himself. I had my own apartment, and I just spent the other 4 days a week singing weird songs and making movies and whatnot. Um, and then and then my wife is really amazing because I still was quite unsuccessful when I met her. It's not like she latched on to Mr. Tonight Show. Yeah, she was with me way before that. But again, she was cool with everything that I did and didn't seem embarrassed by it. And with each level of new success, I'm less embarrassed, and she seems more proud. So it's pretty cool.
oh, that's fantastic. Because look, Wikipedia tells me that you're making about 60 something thousand dollars or something like that a year, 65,000 something like that. Is making movies and making music now? Is that your full time uh, 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 career, or is it's something? Is are you still working a part time
Yeah.
job, full time job as well as
Right.
doing all
Yeah.
this?
Yeah. So my wife suggested I should stop announcing how much I earn. Actually, that was back in 2019 was the last year that I was like, "Hey, everybody, look what I did." And so yeah, it's actually gone up since then, and yeah, It's been my full time gig since 2017. Actually, yeah, I finally
Oh,
quit my day job, and I can't believe it. Like
nothing,
every
nothing makes
day.
me happier than you saying that.
Yeah,
Nothing,
that's
Oh,
awesome.
absolutely nothing
great.
makes me happier than you going, I can just make these songs, make movies. I hope you can do it. I swear, I hope you can do it forever.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, every year is better than the last year. And so
Yeah.
anytime I get a little nervous, I just got to remind myself. I mean, it keeps going up. I keep on, I released probably 800 songs last
Mm,
year. So it's like I keep on adding to the pile of stuff. And and I think it kind of success begets success, like
mm,
with each new because someone finds one song and there's a whole lot of others for them to
yeah.
find, and
I think
those
you
half
said.
pennies add up.
If you
I
ever
think that
run
what you
out of
said before.
names, so if you ever run out of names, which there are, and I can't remember, I told Church, I was like, he hasn't done this name, and I forgot what it is. So my apologies.
Yeah.
See,
This
I
might,
think the opposite. I think the opposite, Matt. I think that you've come across an additional revenue source. You've got basically unlimited list of names. All you need to do is put out those names and call them baby name books, and you've
Yeah.
got an
Yeah.
additional revenue source. There's so many things
Yeah.
I just go, man, he can monetize this in a way that like just funds your creative output. I think that's the most important part.
Yeah, well, some people hear about what I do and they just think like, "Oh, this guy is just a money hungry, cynical, non-artist." And it's like I mean, I'm using a lot of this money to pay for these movie projects that do not earn any money at all, but I just absolutely want to do them. And I mean, basically every time I put on an extravaganza, I'm losing a few $1,000s. And so it's definitely like, it's just, instead of having a day job, I have 25,000 silly songs that are that are earning my main income, and I just keep adding to that. And then when I'm not doing that, I can do other creative pursuits. It's just like, it's like the funniest way to make a living, I think, too.
Oh, it's completely the opposite. I think it's the most fantastic way you can make a
Yeah,
living.
yeah.
It's so good. One of the things that when I tried to ask other people like questions that they wanted to say, they wanted one of our friends wanted to say that, are you aware that you are the nicest person on Twitter? Because every single one of your posts is the nicest post you can ever have, and I have 100% agree.
Yeah, for sure. Like, and the thing is, like, Twitter's all about self promotion,
Mm,
and some people try to be subtle about it, and it feels wrong to me. Like, if you're gonna promote yourself, you should just go out there, call yourself the greatest songwriter of all time, and and just take pictures of yourself and act as if you're so grandiose and important. But I think people get the joke, and then sometimes people will be a little, if anyone criticizes me, I'm not looking to fight them. I'm more just looking to be, just have a little fun with it. But
yeah.
yeah, for sure, I'm trying to maintain some good vibes all around.
Mm.
All right. So
Now,
you said that to do with aliens. So I have to ask this question: if aliens came down, what is the one song that you would give them?
I have a song called "The Aliens Built the Pyramids," and I would perform that for them.
so good.
Fantastic.
That's a great song too. Such a good song. I've listened. Like I said, man, I've listened to so many of your songs. Like it's, I feel like you are, for me. Like I love Frank Zappa. I've always loved Frank
Mm,
Zappa, and you're in that
yeah.
same vein. Like he's got these very serious songs. He's got his very silly songs. He's got his
Yeah.
movies. He's got his art, and it's all to like. It's just it's just money made to fund the next art project, and that's what I think. That's probably what I see a lot of Frank Zappa in you, in that
Mhm.
sort of sense.
Yeah.
And for me, it's sort of like, yeah, I think that's why I get it more than the average person.
Yes, and I'm grateful that you get it, and I definitely wish more people understood that aspect of it for sure, because that's the
Mm,
one thing I'm always like kind of fighting for, is just to get a little bit more respect for the fact that, like, it
mm,
is, there's some good stuff in here, some like
yeah,
really good compositions that I'm proud of, and Zappa gets a lot more respect than I do, but life is long.
yeah, that's right. Now, one of the things that you also do, so you've lovingly come onto this podcast here, but you've got your own podcast, the Motern Media Infomercial Podcast, which one the funniest name you could ever call a podcast. And two, you just talk about all your upcoming project songs and talk to the people you make music with. Why did you decide to start the podcast?
Yeah. Well, one main reason is my poor wife. She'll be just sitting on the couch or relaxing, and I'll be like, "I was thinking of doing this, and I was thinking of doing this, and I was thinking of doing this," and you can see the boredom. Her eyes are glazed over, and she's just like, "When is he going to stop talking?" And so I thought, maybe if I just say it into a microphone, I'll get it out, and I can spare her some of that. So there's that. That's the reason. And then and frankly, I just thought, like, I, I would want to hear. I like hearing creative people discussing every intricate detail of the process, and so I'm going to put it out there. And if someone wants to hear it, great. If not, that's great. And I'm going to be very honest about it. This is an infomercial. This is all about self promotion. I don't want to be deceitful about it, and so it's right there in the title.
It's so good. I mean, I've listened to episodes here and then. You play like the latest songs. You talk about your movies. I wish there was more. Like I'm a real, like I said,
Sorry,
musician, long time, all that. Oh, go.
I missed the music part. I picked up the how much you were going to charge people for food. I thought that was interesting.
Remind,
Like
I don't know what you
like
mean by that.
oh, the latest one that I listened to. There was you were talking about like how much you're going to charge for a hot dog or something like that, and then
Okay,
you're talking about
okay.
pretzels, and then I was like, we don't really have pretzels in Australia. This is amazing. And then like what how much to charge at like the Super Bowl versus like what are you going to do? And then like the argument of like you should charge money. See, I'm not even musically talented, but that was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, well, I mean so that's Froggy, the drummer, and
So
I mean
cool.
I've known him since we were 7 years old, and those are our conversations.
Yeah.
Like basically, we've been having these kind of conversations since we were 7, where we really get into the detail, and we're kind of like arguing a point that's totally unimportant,
Totally
and
moot
like
point.
so hopefully clearly you didn't mind listening to that, so that was cool. Yeah, we got a show in Orlando, Florida coming up
Yeah,
in early March. That's going to be exciting.
that's a fantastic. And you got the full band for that one there.
I think so.
So
You
good.
know, I mean, the each band member is going to have to pay his own way to fly to Orlando and then fly home. So I was like, if you can come, great. If you can't, I totally understand. And I mean, it'll definitely be me and Froggy, and hopefully
Yeah.
the other guys will come too.
Great. Now you've got a big show coming up, Orlando. How do you decide on a set list? So you've got an hour, 2 hour, 5 hour, 5 hour show. How do you go? Do you go? We're gonna play all the new album and these songs here, or do you ask fans for suggestions, or what's the process to get a set list together?
Well, yeah, I mean, we've been doing shows now for several years, and so we definitely know what works. So we have like the crowd pleaser songs where we're
Yeah.
like, all right, we know this is going to go over well. And then we definitely take input from people who are coming. If someone requests a song, we try very hard to fulfill that request because we're so honored that they're arriving at the show and that they actually had a song they wanted to hear. And yes, there have been several times where people requested a song, we learned it, and then they didn't come to the show. So there's that, and then it's kind of, most of it is for the crowd, but a couple songs for us, where we're like, oh, let's try premiering this song. We've never done this one live before, stuff like that. But it's I was actually working on the set list right before talking with you, and what's good about doing a 5 hour show is like it kind of builds up your tolerance. For Orlando, we're gonna play an hour and a half, maybe an hour and 40 minutes, and it's like, oh, that's
Easy.
gonna be easy, and it's easy to select all the songs that generally work really well and to put them all into one set list. Like, oh, Orlando doesn't know what's coming for them.
Yeah. Are you going to look for support acts or anything like that to, and find other artists to be, or is it just all you and the band and just for your crowd?
When we launch our album, we are totally going to America. Or Matt can come to Australia, and we can support act. That's. I think that's.
Well, I will happily.
Right?
If you put on a show in this area, I will happily open for you for sure.
Amazing.
But when I do shows, it's like, all right, I'm losing hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to rent out this venue and to get all this equipment here. I am not sharing the stage with anybody. This is a total Farley ego fest, and I want to get my money's worth. So I don't like sharing the stage, and so I'm up there the whole time. And so no, just me.
Nice. I understand completely, and you just want to be all you and your band up on stage. So can I do a little bit of tech talk? You've got you record that sort of stuff. What's your what's your signal chain? Like what's your piano? How do you record that? And the drums, guitars. What's what equipment do you use to get all that into the computer and record your songs?
Okay, well, I can give you a little tour here. So this is a Roland stage piano, I guess you'd call it, and 88 keys, and real nice, real heavy though. So when I do live shows, it hurts to carry it everywhere. And then I record into this thing, which is a Zoom 24 track mixer / recorder. And one thing that I find for me is like, I don't want to, like, because I work fast and I do a lot of things, I don't want to get bogged down on editing and mixing. You know, you're like,
Yeah.
ooh, let's make this a little louder, ooh, make that a little softer, ooh. And before you know it, 5 days have gone by and the song basically sounds the same, you know, but you've been tweaking it. And so
Mm.
to avoid that, I basically mix the whole song on this thing more or less as I'm going, and then boom, it's done. It could be, you know, if I spent 3 weeks on each song, it could be 1% better, but it's like, yeah, that's not worth it.
Mm.
I think of all the songs I could write in those 3 weeks. And then when I'm recording with a full band, usually we're in the basement and there's a drum set down there. And usually the key is it's like try to get the drums recorded.
Mm.
That's the main point, you know, when the whole band's together, and then we can dub over all the other instruments later on, and it's easy to fix that.
Mm.
But it's really like to get that live drum thing, and dubbing drums is not easy when you're, you know, like if I
Mm.
play like the chords of a song for 4 minutes and then send it to the drummer, it's very hard to line it up in a way that's satisfying. So that's the main thing we go for when it's the full band recording.
So no, if it's just yourself, straight into the mixer, no digital audio workstation, just the mixer and out to and exported.
Yeah, in the last few years, I've got GarageBand on my
Mm.
computer, so I might use that just to get the level, like the master track, up to like
Mm.
the highest level before it peaks, more or less. But yeah, no, that's it. And I always like I like acoustic, like folk music and stuff, where it's just,
Yeah.
you know, a guitar and vocals and not a lot of tricks going on there. And I also like demo versions of songs. Like
Mm.
oftentimes you can I prefer like the rough homemade demo to like the overproduced studio track. And so I definitely I'd rather it be a little rough around the edges and sound a little bit more human and immediate than for it to sound like it was, you know, someone spent a lot of time perfecting it.
Yeah. I like we're recording some stuff right now, and we're doing sort of a country sort of thing. Some things I'm overproducing for the effect, like, you know, whereas sometimes sometimes it's acoustic guitar and some drums. That's all you really need to get the song going. I completely understand um how you're
Yeah,
doing
well, for
that.
me, yeah, I mean, and I fall into the trap where, you know, especially for the No Jokes albums where, you know, there's other musicians involved and I want to make them proud. And I produce it too much. And more often than not, I'll overproduce and then I'll be like, take that out, bring it back down, lower the effects, and like get it back to a more human sound. Ideally, the best situation is where I just get to that sound in the first place, you know?
Mm. Amazing stuff. Kieran, have you got anything else for Matt?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I knew you
When will
did.
you be? When will you be going on Cameo?
Yeah, I don't have any plans for that. I mean, people ask me frequently to do little like happy birthday videos, and I just do it, you know. I mean, it doesn't take much time at all, and I feel weird making them pay for it. For
Because
many
Church's
years,
birthday comes around every year, and I have no idea what to do. And I'm just like, you know what? This is perfect. I could just ask Matt, who's now no
yeah,
longer, who's not on Cameo. He's just, I'm just going to message you now. I was willing to
just
pay you,
yeah,
but now that you're offering it for free,
yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I figure if someone's reaching out to get a video from me, they've probably listened to a lot of my music, so I've probably already earned some money off them, and I'm happy to it. You know, it costs me nothing but time to make a 30-second video. Now, in the old days, for
Mm,
several years, I would do custom songs
yes.
where I would charge around 50, $75. And people would give me about 15 facts about whatever the topic was, and then I would turn it into a song. And I mean, some years I did 1,000 of those in a year, you know, and no, probably not that many. Then it would have made $50,000. Maybe, I don't know, whatever it was. But I mean, I was doing a lot of them, and then I would always mispronounce people's names, and then I'd have to go back and re-record it, you know, which is really frustrating. Or I'd mess up. I'd call like the daughter by the dog's name accidentally, and they'd be like, "We love the song, except our daughter is not named Rover," you know. I'm like, "Oh God, I gotta re-record." And it was so frustrating that I was like, "Okay, I need to stop." So I haven't done that for a few years, but if ever my income goes down from streaming, it's good to know I have that. Like, I could start that up again, I think.
Mm, absolutely. Well, I know what I'm getting for my birthday this year, so that's very exciting. Well, I'm completely out of questions. Look. I probably could talk to you forever about the minutiae of music and playing and all that sort of stuff, but I don't know. I'll wait. I'll wait till I hear that on your own podcast, Matt. Kieran, do you have anything else?
All done.
Well, look, Matt, we just want to thank you so much for joining us on an evening, a late afternoon, evening for you, very early morning for us here in Australia. We want to thank you so much. Please tell us where people can find your music, your movies, and buy tickets to the concert that's coming up.
Yeah, well, there's so much. I'm just going to promote one thing. It's my book. It's called The Motern Method,
Yep.
and it's the simplest and most direct guide to creativity that you could hope for, where every chapter is a page, 2 pages, 3 pages tops, and I think you could read it in one sitting, and then you'll be super inspired for the rest of the year to just produce. So look for that on Amazon.com. The Motern Method by Matt Farley.
Amazing. Like I said, Matt, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure. Dream to have you on. My nephew, he's going to be absolutely amazed that I was able to talk to the man that wrote the Henry and the Henry Poop song, which I'm about to introduce to him. And I'm sure when my son grows up and he understands things, I'll go, no, your Felix Poop song. I talked to that guy. He's a friend of the show, and I think that's gonna absolutely blow his mind. And my wife will never hear the end of this conversation, just, no matter what she does. I don't think. But Matt, thank you once again for being on the show. Kieran, thank you so much for being on the show as well.
Thank you,
And ladies,
thank you,
and
Matt.
ladies and gentlemen, we will see you next Thursday.
It's the We Only Do One Take podcast. The only podcast that is a complete shit show.
Come on, man. Motherfuckers, guys, come on. Give me the 5-star rating, baby. Give me the 5-star. That's all I want, baby. That's all I want. I'll fuck all the beautiful girls in the goddamn world. They'll fuck a 10-star. I just want 5. 5, baby. Just 5.